Okay, we're now streaming live on YouTube, it says. So if there's any public that has joined us, apologize for the late start. We've been having some technical issues, but we're at 2:02. We're going to call the Finance Committee meeting to order. And I'd like to start by acknowledging that we are privileged to meet on the unceded and ancestral territories of the Squamish and Scotland nations. With that, there is an agenda recommendation. Anyone is prepared to do that?
That the agenda of this meeting be approved.
Thanks, Melissa. Is there a second for that?
Sure, Cynthia.
Thank you, Cynthia. Thanks, Cynthia. Any objections? Seeing and hearing none, then that's approved. There's some minutes there for recommendation.
The minutes of the Finance Committee meeting held on December 13th, 2023 be adopted.
Thank you, Cynthia. Is there a second for that? Thank you, Melissa. Sorry. Any objections? Seeing and hearing none, then that's carried. Are there any trustee items in the finance meeting? Okay, seeing and hearing none. Move on to presentations, of which we do not have any. So that brings us to information items. So our quarterly financial report. Elena?
Hi. Yes, this report I will share on my screen right now. Can you see the report on the screen?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, got it.
So this report provides a quick snapshot of quarterly financials for the district that covers period from July 1st to December 31st, second quarter of the school year. And it is broken into three funds: operating fund, special purpose fund, and capital fund. Operating fund includes revenue and expenses related to daily operations, such as instructions, administration, transportation, maintenance of building and grounds. And the year-to-date operating grant, which is based on resident student enrollment, is 24.1 million. Revenue from international student tuition fees was 1.5 million. And other fees and revenues and contributions was almost 2.4 million. These other revenues included local educational agreement amount, agreements with all other school districts, non-restricted portion of school-generated funds, rental income, interest earned on bank accounts, and non-capital portion of AFG, and also some miscellaneous fees. So total operating fund revenues is 28 million. Operating expenses consist of salaries, wages, benefits, and also services and supplies, and the total is 28.7 million. Special purpose fund consists of funding provided to the district for special purpose and includes restricted portion of school-generated fund as well, along with such funds as Classroom Enhancement Fund, Community Link, Learning Improvement Fund, and such. Revenue on that fund is recognized only when related expenditure occurs. So that's why the special purpose fund doesn't have surplus. If a particular fund, special purpose fund, incurs deficit, it's transferred into operating fund. Year-to-date, special purpose fund revenue and expenses was 3.6 million. Capital fund revenue is amortization of deferred capital revenue, 1.7 million, and expenses is amortization of capital assets, 2.1 million. Total revenue for all three funds is 33.4 million, and total expenses for all three funds is 34.4 million. which bring us to 1.1, almost 1.1 million deficit, which was partially covered by appropriated budget surplus of 911,000 that was budgeted in an annual budget by law. This total 147,000 deficit includes spending from operating fund of 734,000 on capital items. And it's higher than it was budgeted in annual budget. So the total year-to-date deficit is higher, 131,000 higher than it was budgeted, and the district took steps to address it. What we did, we submitted a request to the ministry to use our restricted capital on capital items that was purchased from operating funds. In the end of December, the ministry approved this request for the total use of 558,000, and the transfer from restricted capital will be reflected in amended budget that is now being developed. So some more information about restricted capital balance and use going to be next item, agenda item. If you have questions about the capital, about the quarterly report, so I'm ready here to answer. So here is below, I have some information about
Sorry, Elena, it looks like Rebecca's trying to talk. I think Rebecca, you're muted there.
Yeah, I did realize that after. I was just gonna say that I can't see everyone on the screen, so let me know if you speak up if you have any questions or comments, please. Okay, not hearing any. Go ahead.
Okay, this is all about quarterly report. I'm moving into restricted capital review, right? Or we are going to discuss more of this one.
No, I think that's good. No one has any questions. Thanks, Elena. That was really good. Thank you for that. Good job. So, Elena, if you don't mind, I'll just introduce this first. So, everybody, I don't know if you recall in the past, I had described to the board what kind of things go into the restricted capital fund because we were talking about what was going to go into there from the Pemberton House sale. And so we recently, as Elena mentioned, had some more activity in that account. And so I thought it would be a good time for the board to get an update on what's happening in this account. And so Ian and Elena put together this document about what was happening with the capital projects here. So that's just an introduction on what this is. And so I will let Elena walk you through this document and explain a little bit more about what restricted capital is.
Thank you, Danielle. Yes, like Danielle mentioned on board meeting in June, there was some discussion about restricted capital increase, but we look at it from perspective of Pemberton House sale and which portion of the proceeds will go into restricted capital. So now we have this here as well, but we will look at some other transactions that has happened since then. So as there have been some changes in restricted capital balance recently, and so I'm going to look at it in this little summary. So first off, what is restricted capital exactly? It starts from submission of capital plan. District submits capital plan to the board. Board approves the plan and adopts capital by law. And then the ministry provides capital funding for that plan. The capital funding is then offset by capital purchases. That is buying such items like boilers, playgrounds, school buses. And once a particular capital project is complete, and if cost exceeded the funding, the deficit is transferred from capital by law to the operating fund, and if the funding exceeded the cost, the surplus is transferred to restricted capital. That's how the restricted capital balance happens. So as of June 30th, the restricted capital balance increases when capital project surpluses are transferred into it. It can also increase as a result of property sale, if that property was fully or partially funded by the ministry. Restricted capital balance can also decrease when it's used. The use requires special approval from the ministry, though. So each use request is reviewed by the ministry on case-by-case basis, and a formal request in the form of letter includes thorough details about associated projects that we are going to spend it on. And there is no guarantee of approval. So even so, the capital, or restricted capital, does belong to the district, but it has to be spent after the ministry approves it, and it has to be spent on certain projects that ministry sees as qualified projects. As of June 30th, 2022, the restricted capital balance was 233,000. And during 22-23 school year, the surpluses from capital project Garibaldi Highlands building envelope project, and also Signal Hill school protection plan project after water damage, and some other projects, the surpluses were transferred into restricted capital for the total of 611,000. And June 30th, 2023 balance became 845,000. In September 2023, Pemberton House sale was finalized, and 401,000 of ministry portion of proceeds was transferred into restricted capital. And also in October 2023, the district submitted a formal request to use our restricted capital on such project as Whistler Secondary School washrooms and a portion of building secondary school, Pemberton Secondary School building envelope project. Whistler Secondary School washroom project was originally budgeted from operating fund. As for Pemberton Secondary School building envelope project, the district was instructed by the ministry to use the Garibaldi Highlands building envelope project surplus to cover any excess of the cost over the capital funding for Pemberton Secondary. So the use of the restricted capital on Pemberton Secondary building envelope was rather anticipated, while Whistler Secondary School washrooms is driven by the escalation of construction costs. So these approved transfers from restricted capital for the total of 558,000 will be included in amended budget. And June 30th, 2024 restricted capital balance will then be 687,000. The approved use of restricted capital will help the district to balance its operating fund, to maintain appropriate surplus level, operating surplus level, and also unchanged service level. So these are changes to restricted capital balance, the most recent one. That such changes like Pemberton House sale and approved use, they don't happen often. It's rather like unique in a way. And some more details about particular project listed here. So Ian, like our Director of Operations, Ian Curry, might be the better person to answer. This is just numbers. So that's it.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments?
I have one, Rebecca.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
If any, I'll obviously defer to any trustee first. I don't see any trustee. I think what I did want to share with the board is around the WSS washroom. We are well aware that this, in our minds, this, and we've talked to Ian about this as well, and he's going back to get more information, that that this seems at first glance to be an extraordinary amount of money to convert 2 bathrooms to 1 universal washroom. So we've just are just going to get an accounting of this because, you know, we obviously want to do right by equity and inclusion. However, this was a bit of a shocker for the cost, and we do recognize that costs have gone up across multiple sectors and everywhere. But we were just surprised by the final cost of this project, and we're super thankful and grateful to Ian and Danielle for putting forward the request to the ministry to be able to access restricted capital to cover some of this cost rather than it come from operating. So I just wanted to assure the board that we're aware and we're looking into costs just to make sure, you know, we're not being taken. Sorry, who's? Oh, that's Colleen. I didn't know who was. I can only small face, so I didn't know who was joining us. Hello, Colleen. So yeah, I think that's really important. And again, the overage for the PSS and building envelope. Really thankful again to the facilities and finance team for putting forward the request to get that overage to be covered out of restricted capital, which again the ministry approved. So just wanted to provide some clarification for the board on those 2 items. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Then where are we here?
I think, Alana, you can stop sharing. Thank you.
I'm stopping sharing them. Thank you.
Okay, that helps.
I know when people share, it gets you all mixed up.
Grabs my whole screen. Okay, so does that bring us to our capital plan bylaw? And that it looks like Ian is there.
Yeah, I'm here, and so this change or update of our capital plan spending bylaw is in response to receiving additional funds from the Ministry of Education under this year's ministry fiscal year to support the CNCP project at Worcester Secondary. So that was a energy efficiency upgrade, phase 2 of a boiler plant upgrade at Whistler Secondary from it would have been our 22-23 funding cycle. We had requested and received funds to support additional work or energy efficiency work at Whistler Secondary under our 24-25 capital plan submission. And when that project went out for tender, all of the quotes came in much higher than what the consultants had anticipated as costs. So then under our 24-25 capital plan submission, we had requested additional funds to support that additional money that's required to complete the project. And the ministry has given that to us under this year's fiscal year. So it's a really good news story. We received an additional $500,000 from the ministry to support this project to get it completed and to meet the additional costs that came as a result of the tender process. So, and this is just merely to allow us to access and spend those funds.
Okay, thanks, Ian. Did anyone have any questions or comments?
Rebecca, I think this is going to be at the open board meeting, so someone will have to read the very long bylaw at the open board meeting. But I don't think we need a motion for that to come out of here, do we? Do we need a motion for that to come out of here to go to open, or it's fine? Does anyone recall?
I don't think we usually do.
From finance, is it like policy? Do you have to make a recommendation to bring it to
No, it's
open board? I don't remember.
Usually it's like straight at the open board meeting,
Okay.
so we don't need a motion here.
Okay, good. So it's just more for your information for tonight when we actually have the bylaw, what the change was there.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Ian.
Thank you, Ian. Okay, so then we can move on, discussion items, we don't have any. Action items. So this is, so there's myself, Danielle, and Colleen on. I guess that I can start. So the Indigenous Council meeting met on Monday, and there were some changes to our already adopted targeted funds budget. So these are just some amendments that went to that. And the council passed a motion to make a recommendation to the board that we accept. And that is where we are. So with that, am I able to do the recommendation? Because I was in attendance. Rachel didn't make that meeting.
Yeah, I think this actually goes forward to the board as well at the open board meeting. So yeah, I think that's
Mhm.
fine. This is just the.
I just don't know if I should do it or.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so I will say that the Finance Committee recommends the Board of Education approve the 2023-2024 amended targeted funds as presented. So looking for a second for that. Thank you, April. Any objections? Seeing and hearing none, then that's accepted. And then it will come forward to the public meeting as well. Do we have any questions of clarification from the public?
Let me check. No questions.
Okay, perfect. So we have completed the business of this agenda and we are adjourned. We can stop our live.